A is for Adam, Part 1. The sixth day. A bug crawled up his face, waking him up. All right, I'm up, Jesus. He wasn't sure who Jesus was, since he was the only living human in the universe. It just seemed like the right thing to say. The bug crawled across his face every morning around this time, so he never overslept. He wasn't sure what would happen if he did, since he didn't have a job. He rolled over to check the alarm clock by his nightstand, but there was no alarm clock, or nightstand, or time. The bug was hungry. Adam found a large bright green leaf, picked it up off the ground, blew off the dirt that had accumulated on it, and set it in front of his bug friend. Why the insect couldn't find his own damn food was beyond him, but his was not to question the ways of the universe. He went to a corner of the room where he slept in his hut, and went to a tall thing called a bureau, made from mud and leaves. He had cleverly added things he called drawers, that slid in and out to hide and protect the delicate leaves he used to make the clothes, and to feed the bug. He opened the top one. The drawer was full of the same leaf, but for variety and style, each leaf was slightly different. Each leaf had a vine tied in a large loop pushed through it. There was really no need for clothing, since modesty was a thing of the future. No, this wasn't out of modesty at all. This was totally utilitarian, to keep the sheep from nobbling at his privates. He had made several hundred versions of these leaf clothes, mostly out of boredom. On the last few he had made, he figured out how to make the knot adjustable in case he gained or lost weight. There were plenty of animals for him to slaughter, so he never had to go hungry. But it was a giant pain to hunt, kill, prepare, then cook an animal every single day. So some days he went without eating and lost a little weight. Fruits and vegetables were abundant, but they did very little to keep the weight on. Plus, he was getting sick of the lack of variety. One food he was curious about was the fruit that hung from the special tree in the centre of the garden. He was very tempted to eat one, just to see what it tasted like, since it looked delicious, but God said no. He was never sure why God said no. Something about how the tree possessed knowledge, and if he ate the fruits that blossomed from it, he would suddenly know things. At first it all sounded a little like science fiction to him, and a lot like bullshit. And so what if he knew these so-called forbidden things? What was the harm in that? But who was he to question God? Soon, however, he began to think maybe there really was some truth to this knowledge thing. He often caught one goat eating a fruit that had fallen from the tree, and he was starting to believe that the goat was becoming smarter than him. It had even learned how to walk on its hind legs and speak Arabic. This seemed a little too close to evolution, and it surprised him that God didn't put a stop to it right away. If this kept up, soon the monkeys may turn into people, and that was some really messed up stuff. He stared at the tree. Some day he would eat one of those fruits. He'd be damned if he was going to be outwitted by a goat. He stood at the edge of his garden watering it, and a very large garden it was, although large compared to what he wasn't sure. There were fig trees and pear trees, juniper bushes and blueberry bushes. He would have been proud of it, were pride not a sin. It was beautiful, and he took great pains to make it that way. If any visitors showed up, it would greet them with the most amazing sights and intoxicating smells. He had enough to feed an army, and it was a shame to let all this be for nothing. He couldn't help but feel that it was all wasteful. No matter. It wasn't he that was wasting it. It was whoever created this garden. Was it sinful to think things like that? He hoped not. So far he was without sin, and he wished to keep it that way. He had never been far enough out in the garden to lose sight of his own hut, so he did not understand just how massive it was. He had plenty to eat all around him, and there was no need to venture out any further. But he was sure there was more to see out there, more delights and wonderments that he hadn't discovered yet. So why not? He was curious and bored. He was hoping curiosity and boredom weren't sins. He couldn't wait until God came out with a list or a handbook or something. Chapter 2. He left behind the figs and junipers and little pre-packaged bags of cashews. Further and further in he went, till soon he lost sight of his hut. He hoped he didn't get lost, but then again, home is where you hung your fig leaf, so he could set up shop anywhere he liked, really. Such sights there were to greet him. Strange green objects, and yellow ones and brown ones, things he had never seen before, not even in his craziest dreams. Why hadn't he ventured out before today? He could have been eating all these delicious-looking things. He strolled around naming things as he went, because that was a privilege he had by being the only human in existence. He called this one kiwi, and that one coconut, this one clam, and that one olive, this one cucumber, and that one Doug. On and on he strolled through the garden, tasting a little of this and a little of that. Some things were perfect right off the vine, like the things he now called grapes. Other things obviously needed to be cooked, such as the large orange object he decided for some cute reason to call pumpkin. Of course, due to his naivety, it never occurred to him that some things were not edible, and were just there to be admired only with the eyes, such as a nice innocent-looking fruit that resembled what he called blueberry. He decided to name this belladonna, after the lead singer of Anthrax. They tasted pretty decent, little sweet. He picked them one by one off the vine, shoving them into his mouth as he did so. It briefly entered his mind that maybe he should have saved room for other treats. He was sure there would be more further on, but the more he ate of these, the better they tasted. He felt like a glutton. He wasn't sure what a glutton was, but he pictured one in his mind. It resembled a beaver with larger teeth and a piss-poor attitude. It scampered around and round the belladonna shrub, looking to take a bite out of Adam's bare foot. He kicked the creature, which sprouted wings mid-air and flew away to do better things. The berries jumped off the bush and shot into his mouth, and started burning with the heat of 1,000 suns. The ground opened up beneath him and threatened to swallow him whole. Clutha's tentacles shot up out of the earth and wrapped themselves around him. He felt comforted by the sweet caresses, and as he was lifted higher and higher into the stratosphere, who in the world is Clutha, he thought. And when he realised he had no idea, this caused the tentacles that held him fast to go bye-bye, dropping him from thousands of feet in the air. The ground was approaching fast, and he briefly got a glimpse of his future face, looking like a plate of corned beef hash. Suddenly, he remembered the parachute he had on his back, that he had earlier fashioned out of pterodactyl skin, and he pulled the ripcord. It occurred to him that at that moment that he had inadvertently packed the beak in the deployment bag instead of the skin. Faster and faster he plummeted to the earth, and as he was approaching his inevitable demise, structures began rising up out of the ground, shooting straight skyward. His beaker-chute caught on the antenna at the top of one of the structures, but not before the cord wrapped itself around his neck, and he hung there thousands of feet in the air, strangling. A giant monkey, seeing his dilemma, began climbing the structure. He made it quickly to the top, and began punching airplanes out of the sky. Never mind the airplanes, save me, he thought, but could not say, as he was choking to death. The monkey grabbed the cord, untangled it from the antenna, and climbed back down the structure, setting him gently on the ground. He turned and stomped away. "Wait, monkey, how can I repay you?" But with just a few strides, the monkey was already in the next zip code. A massive explosion rocked the ground, and the structures all came crashing down. The apocalypse happened much sooner than he had expected. Oh well, he thought, at least I have all these books to read. But he stumbled and his glasses fell off his face. But wait, he didn't wear glasses. What the hell were glasses? Glass had not been invented yet, but he did have a pair of spectacles that he fashioned out of plastic cups. He had 15/20 vision, but no other people in existence also met no scales vision or otherwise. All he knew was that when he put those plastic cups up to his eyes, he saw better, especially when he put a little water in them as a refractor. That's the last thought he had before he collapsed in the garden, fast asleep. The end. Don't forget to like and subscribe and press the wee bell notification. And a huge big thank you to all my subscribers and patrons. See you next week. Bye bye.